She thought she had taken this secret to her grave, but on his deathbed, her husband uncovered the truth, one that could destroy everything they had built for 60 years. Grace MacDonald had always feared this moment. She had spent decades in a marriage filled with love, hardship, and unwavering devotion, yet deep inside, she knew a storm was waiting to be unleashed. And now, as Henry lay weak and fragile in his hospital bed, that storm had arrived. The hospital room was quiet except for the rhythmic beeping of the heart monitor. The gray winter light cast long shadows over Henry's frail body. Grace sat beside him, her fingers gently smoothing the thin hospital blanket. Their children, now grown, had been calling non-stop, but she told them not to come just yet. She wanted these final moments to be just the two of them. Henry, even at 82, still looked at her the way he did when they first met, a look filled with warmth and understanding, but she knew that what she was about to say might change that forever. She took a deep breath and whispered, "Henry, there's something I never told you." His tired eyes flickered open, searching hers. "What is it, my love?" Her heart pounded as she finally said the words she had buried for 6 decades. "I had a child before I met you, a baby boy, and I never told you." Henry's breath hitched. His fingers trembled as he clutched her hand. "You had a child?" 60 years ago, in a small segregated town in North Carolina, Grace was just 19, a rebellious girl from a wealthy white family. Her father was a powerful businessman who controlled every aspect of her life. She was forbidden from associating with the black workers who maintained their land, but Grace had never been one to follow rules. And then she met Henry. He was a young mechanic, a man with skilled hands and a quiet confidence that made her heart race. Their love was a defiance of everything society expected from them. When her family threatened to disown her, she didn't hesitate. She and Henry ran away, escaping to Ohio, where they married in a tiny church with only a handful of people who dared to stand by them. They built a life together. Henry started an auto repair shop. Grace gave music lessons, and they raised 2 children in a house filled with love and laughter. They endured prejudice, overcame hardships, but never let the world break them. But through it all, Grace carried a burden Henry never knew about, the son she was forced to give away at 16. Tears streamed down her face as she told Henry the whole truth. "My father made me hide the pregnancy. After the birth, they took him from me before I could even hold him properly. I never saw him again." Henry's eyes glistened with unshed tears. "For 60 years, you carried this alone?" She nodded, sobs catching in her throat. "I was ashamed. I was afraid. I thought if you knew, you'd see me differently." Henry's fingers, though weak, pressed firmly against hers. "Grace, I would have never judged you. We should have found him together." His words shattered her. She had feared anger, disappointment, but instead, he was mourning the years they had lost. Henry's breath grew weaker, but he forced out his final wish. "Promise me, Grace. Find him. Tell him. He had a father in spirit." "I promise," she whispered, as Henry's grip loosened, his eyes closing for the last time. After the funeral, the house felt unbearably quiet, but Grace refused to let her grief consume her. Henry had given her a mission. With the help of their children, she began searching for the son she lost. She contacted adoption agencies, scoured old records, and reached out to anyone who might have answers. Days turned into months, and every lead seemed to end in disappointment. Until one afternoon, a letter arrived. A genealogist had cross-referenced old adoption records from the 1950s. She believed she had found a match, a man named Richard Sullivan. Her hands shook as she dialed the number provided. A cautious voice answered. "Hello?" Grace swallowed hard. "I believe I might be your mother." There was silence on the other end. Then, a sharp intake of breath. "I've been searching for my birth mother my whole life." The day they met, Grace's heart felt like it might burst from her chest. Richard stood at her doorstep, a tall, middle-aged man with warm eyes and a familiar jawline. He reminded her so much of Henry. As they sat in the living room, she told him everything: the heartbreak, the regret, the prayers she whispered for him every night. Tears streamed down his face as he listened. "I had a good life," he said, "but I always felt like something was missing." Grace reached for his hands. "Henry, my husband, he wanted to meet you. He wanted you to know you had a father in him too." Richard's voice broke. "I would have loved to meet him." Grace handed him a photo album filled with memories, pictures of Henry, of the life they had built. As Richard flipped through the pages, his face softened. He traced Henry's image with his fingers. "I'd like to know more about him," he said. Grace smiled through her tears. "He was the kindest man I ever knew, and he wanted this moment to happen." They sat in silence, the weight of the years between them slowly melting away. Outside, the wind whispered through the trees, as if carrying Henry's presence into the room. And in that quiet space, Grace realized that her secret had not destroyed her life. It had given her a new beginning.